वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुश्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपां साग्रजातं सगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतां सावधतां परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च अमज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः विष्णुपादाय गौराङ्गपृष्ठरूपिणे श्रीभक्तिविबुधाय वैवदान्यति नामिने वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यो एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। At first, I offer my respectful obeisances to our spiritual masters, Srimad Bhagavad Gita Maharaj. Thereafter, I offer my respectful obeisances to all spiritual masters, all Guru Parampara, and to all Vaishnavas. I offer my respectful obeisances to all assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Today we will try to understand Bhagavad Gita from chapter number 13 and verse number 21. In this verse, what Lord Shri Krishna says to Arjuna, that things we will try to understand today. What Lord Shri Krishna says that Karya Karana Kartite Hetu Prakritiruchyate Purusha Sukha Dukkhanam Bhaktite Heturuchyate. The meaning of this verse is that nature is said to be the cause of all material causes. In this material world, there are many things is going on. The main cause of these things is that is said that material nature is the main cause of all causes and effects, whereas the living entity is the cause of various suffering. The living entity is the cause of various sufferings and enjoyment in this world. That means living entity is itself is the main reason of various sufferings and enjoyment. Now we will try to understand the purport of this verse. In this verse, that the different manifestation of the bodies and senses among the living entities are due to material nature. There are 8.4 millions of different kinds of living entities, and these varieties of creation of material nature. That means there are varieties of material creature, and the quantity of these material natures, material species are 8.4 million. They arise from different sensual pleasure and living entities who thus desire to live in this body or that. When he is put into different bodies, he enjoys different kind of happiness and distress. When a living entity puts a different bodies on, according to that body, that living entity enjoys suffers or happiness according to their what kind of bodies they get. His material happiness and distress are due to his body, because we are in this material world. This material world we feel various kind of happiness or distress, and main cause and his material happiness and distress are due to his body. For this body we are feeling happiness or distress. If we become free from this material body, we will never face this kind of happiness and distress, because we all are the spiritual entity. We are soul. We are not this body. When we will set up our lost relationship to God, then we will feel eternal happiness. Therefore, and no doubt himself he is. In his original state, there is no doubt of enjoyment. In our original state is spiritual state, and in that state there is no any kind of distress. Therefore, that is nature, and he is in this material world. The spiritual world is pure, and this material world is full of suffering, and spiritual is pure. But in the material world, everyone is struggling hard to acquire different kind of pleasure of the body. In this material world, we are doing various kind of struggle. For what? For getting happiness, and various kind of bodily pleasure we are struggling. It might be more clear to state that this body is the effect of all senses. We have five kind of knowledge acquiring senses, and this body is called the accumulation of these senses. The senses are instrument of gratifying our desire. By this five kind of senses, we try to gratify our desire. Now, the sum total body and instrument of senses are offered by material nature. This our body and our senses are offered by whom? Offered by material nature, and as will be clear in the next verse, living entity is blessed and demand with circumstances according to his past desire and activity. Whatever desire we did in past, and in first we get this kind of body, and whatever body we will get, on the basis of that body we will feel material suffering and material pleasure. According to one desire and activity, material nature places in one various residential quarter. That means according to our desire, whatever desire and whatever activity we do, on the basis of that thing, material nature places in one various residential quarter. The being himself in this cause of his attaining such residential quarter, and his attendant enjoyment or suffering. Once placed in some particular kind of body, he comes under the control of nature. If we get some kind of material body, and when we will get that kind of material body, we are fully controlled under the material nature. We don't have any kind of control. Whatever material nature will lead us, we will do that things. At that time, living entity has no power to change that law. That means we cannot change the material law. Every living entity must follow the rules and regulations of material nature. Suppose an entity is put into the body of a dog. If a living entity is put into the body of a dog, then what that living entity do? As soon as he is put into that body of a dog, he must act like a dog. That means he cannot do any other kind of activity. Whatever dog does in his life, that living entity must do. This is the law of material nature. He cannot act otherwise. And if a living entity is put into the body of a hog, then what will that living entity do? Then he is forced to eat stool. That is the characteristics of a hog. Eating stool is the main characteristics of a hog. If a living entity puts into that body, that means hog body, that living entity must eat stool and act like a hog. Similarly, if the living entity put into the body of a demigod, he must act according to his body. If that living entity body of a demigod, that living entity will behave like a demigod. This is the law of nature. This law of nature we must follow. If we do not have enough power, that means if we get the human form, that means we will have to act like human being. Otherwise, we cannot do any other activity. If we do any other things, then the material nature will force to do that thing. But in all circumstances, the super soul is the individual soul. That means whatever body we will get in our this with spirituals with soul, there is always super soul. In all circumstances, the super soul is the individual soul. That is the explained in the Vedas. These things is also explained in Vedas. In Mundaka Upanishad 3.1.1 as follows. The Shuparna Shuja Shauja Shakhaya. The Supreme Lord is so kind upon the living entity that he is always accompanies the individual soul. Sometimes in all circumstances, super soul stays with individual soul. And in all circumstances, in present as the super soul or Paramatma. That means super soul always stays with individual soul as a Paramatma. In any circumstance, super soul never forget us. That's why we always surrender to super soul, that is Lord Shri Krishna. By surrendering to Lord Shri Krishna, we will do the actual things in our human form. In this human form, our main duty is to surrender to Lord Shri Krishna and chanting this holy name. In this Yuga, Kali Yuga, if we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, that things will be the main duty of a human being. This is for today. From next day, we will try to understand the next verse number 22. Hare Krishna, Hare Bol.